The difference between an ordinary career and an extraordinary career is that little extra. You know what? Many years ago, I learned that the world salutes the man or the woman who put about 50% of effort and diligence in his work. But then it read again that the world take off its hat to honor the person that put about 75% of effort and diligence in their work. But ladies and gentlemen, the world gives a standing ovation to the man or woman who put in 100% or more in his work. You see, in today's competitive world, in every organization, there are three kinds of employees. You have those who know the what, those who know the how, and those who know the why. You know, those who know the what get the job. Those who know the how get the job done. But those who know the why are the bosses and supervisors of those who know the what and the how. You know, knowing the what is nothing supernatural. Knowing the what is having theories, qualifications, credentials, having information and knowledge. And by the way, in this era of artificial intelligence, knowing the what becomes irrelevant at some point. You know, knowing the how is getting the job done. In my career of coaching, mentoring, and nurturing people, I've met people that were technically sound. They had a finesse when it came to skill expression, but they ended up their career as rank and file. They never grew into their career. They never grew to the next level. So getting the job done is not enough. Then you have those who know the why. Those who understand the dynamics, the behind the scenes of why things should be done. They start with the end in mind. They do fast things fast. They are playmakers. They are game changers. They are outliers. They are known as captains of the moonshots. They are known as daredevils, the round peg in the square hole. These are the people that go ahead to return value to the investment, to the shareholders, and to the stakeholders. These are people that move on beyond employment to becoming owners, to becoming captains of industries, to becoming people that define a new era of business and career in our world. My question would be this evening: are you the one who knows the what? Or the one who knows the how? Or the one who knows the why? I learned many years ago that he who knows the how will always have a job, but unfortunately, he will always work for he who knows the why. True leaders start with the why. Welcome to Be Inspired with Pepe Minambo. Tonight, we are continuing with our new series on career growth and personal development. Last week, I was so honored and privileged to host Mr. Fabian Kasi, the Managing Director of Centenary Bank, one of the sponsors of this show. In fact, I would like to thank our sponsors for making this possible, Centenary Bank and Pepsi Max. And tonight, we are in for another exciting time of just new insight and perspectives on how to grow in career and also to grow as an individual. If I may do a bit of a recap on what Mr. Kasi shared with us last week, he talked about 4 critical things that helped him move from the entry level to middle management. He spoke about competitiveness, being competitive in everything you do. He spoke about being outstanding, just be a little bit ahead of the curve, standing out and becoming the standard. And then he spoke about, taking the jump. Sometimes in life, we all carry some parachutes. And the parachute will never open if you don't take the jump. And some of us, we live life without our parachute ever opening. So he took the risk to be who he is today. And then he spoke about letting your work speak for itself. Talking about competitiveness, I recently read or watched CNN, a report by the World Economic Forum that says, in the next 5 years, artificial intelligence will wipe away about 85 million jobs globally. Artificial intelligence. Now, then I read another report by the World Economic Forum that says, in the next 5 years, there are about 10 critical skills that people need to acquire. In fact, the report says 50% of all employees globally will need to reskill in the next 5 years, because some of the skills people have now will become irrelevant. They'll become redundant in the wake of new technologies, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, you have the Internet of Things, and you have robotics, you have automation, and all these things are going to take jobs away. Meaning getting a job in a few years to come will become more competitive than it is now. But then, what makes you really, really stand out at the workplace? We'll be right back.
Hey, wanna race? I will love you. You wish.
The Center story started when we opened our doors nearly 40 years ago, with our roots deeply placed in the Catholic Church. We set out with the sole purpose of being the best provider of financial services in a sustainable manner, especially microfinance, to all people, particularly in rural areas. Over the years, we've grown into Uganda's biggest and fastest growing bank, with an asset base of 5.5 trillion, serving over 2.4 million customers and businesses in agriculture, microfinance sector, SMEs, women, youth and corporate segments. On our quest to drive financial inclusion, we've taken our bank closer to our customers with over 80 branches across the country and multiple banking channels, including over 6,000 agents, Center Mobile Banking, Center Online Banking, Center Visa Debit and Prepaid Cards, and MasterCard Platinum Debit Card. 2.4 million have written our story of becoming Uganda's biggest and fastest growing bank. The story continues.
Centenary Bank.
Centenary Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. Up to 10 million. Terms and conditions apply.
Centenary Bank is a member of the Center Group.
Enjoy the beautiful game of golf for leisure or competition at the beautiful Lake Victoria Serena Golf Resort and Spa. It's a hole-in-one from our world-class clubhouse, with a first-of-its-kind pro shop, to the right people on ground to make your golfing experience a classy affair. As you putt, drive and ace on the banks of Lake Victoria, this is Uganda's finest championship golf course.
Welcome back from the break. As we continue tonight in our new series on personal development and career growth. This is our second month on this show. The first month really focused on unlocking your full potential, transforming to full potential, understanding yourself. And this month, our focus is on career growth and personal development. To validate some of these insights and perspectives, I'll be hosting different distinguished guests as we started last week. As I've been announcing in the past 3 weeks on this show, in the month of July, 8th of July, Saturday, 8th of July, I'll be hosting a forum in Kampala with 2 international transformational speakers. Dr. Robert Burale will be live in Kampala, a life coach, a transformational speaker. He'll be talking about transform to full potential and do not sweat the small stuff. All the information about the event are right there on the screen. You can screenshot, you can send an email, you can reach out to us, and you can book your seat because we have a limited space for this great event. And the second speaker on this event will be Sarah Richardson, a global transformational expert who has had the privilege to work in Europe, in America, in Asia, Africa, and even in Australia. So we are so privileged to have these two great inspirational and transformational speakers right with us here in Kampala on the 8th of July. So book the date, screenshot the advert, and reach out for a moment of total transformation. Now, tonight, I'm again so privileged and honored to bring back to us in our part 2 of career growth and personal development, Mr. Fabian Kasi, the Managing Director of Centenary Bank. Have a look at this. In our series on career growth and personal development, this is part 2. So I'm still privileged and honored to have Mr. Fabian Kasi continue with his career growth journey. Last week we looked at his entry-level experience, and we picked critical lessons that were very useful to him as a career person at that level. We talked about competitiveness. He spoke about standing out, so being excellent, being an outlier. He spoke about taking risk, venturing into the unknown, and he spoke about let your work speak for itself. And tonight, we are continuing our conversation. We'd like to look at Mr. Fabian Kasi as a middle manager. How did he move from entry level to supervisory level at middle management? Mr. Kasi, welcome back to the show. So as we continue our conversation, how was your first promotion? How did you learn about it? How did it happen, your first promotion?
Well, of course, at that early stage, promotions were not very common. They were not very regular, especially at the Bank of Uganda. The hierarchy is a little, long, but it would come definitely. And the very first one, was as a result of, I believe, the work that I had been doing. And it first of all motivated me and all the others who were promoted. But also it gave me, the will to do even more. The principles we talked about at the entry level, carry through. You need to continue always to be looking out for opportunities. You need always to be standing out. You need always to be, becoming the standard, being unique, identifying a niche and taking up responsibilities. And it comes to that level as well. Once you are promoted, then we've been given another springboard to be able to do even much more than what you've been doing. So consistency becomes very critical, very important. And, take the action, as they say. Usually the thing that some people don't do is to sit back and wait for your supervisors to single you out. I always tell my staff that you can't be there and you blame your supervisors for not being promoted. It all lies in your hands. It is all up to you. If you are going to be promoted, if you are going to be given more responsibilities, it depends on how you've projected yourself. It depends on your attitude. It depends on your ability. Your demonstration that you can do more than what is meant for you. So it continues even at the middle management level, and you need to keep doing that. Taking steps, however small they may be, they are adding something to you so that you are able to be in a position where your supervisor will even give you more and therefore be promoted even much higher.
So I've picked two things here: consistency. So whatever principles served you well at an entry level, at a higher level, you just become more consistent.
Yes.
And then I've also picked one thing you said there about taking initiatives. So being proactive, not waiting for your supervisor to tell you something. In fact, that is validated by the book by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And they say the first habit of every highly effective person is being proactive. So they take it on their own without being asked from the supervisor to be told. Yeah. Mr. Kasi, tell me, now at that point, now you're a supervisor, you are in management, you have people that you are supervising. How different it is? Because at entry level, you are just you. But here you have people, you get results through people. I'd like you to tell us something about getting results through people. What do you use? What do you do differently to become an efficient supervisor? or manager?
No. Thank you very much. Of course, at that level, it is a lot operational. So many operations. First of all, you are learning many things. First of all, you need to keep learning because there's a lot that comes through. But of course, most importantly, because you're a supervisor, you are working with others and you are supposed to work through others. Motivating them, empowering them becomes very critical, ensuring that they are well, if their work is well defined, well communicated, and then properly evaluated and monitored becomes very critical. That becomes the only way you will ensure that they do work for you and you are able to present results.
Absolutely.
So working, ensuring teamwork, motivating people, empowering them, ensuring that the work is well defined is very, very important.
What are the challenges you face at that point, the biggest challenges you face as a supervisor, as a middle manager, or the challenges that people at that level faces?
Well, at that level, of course, when you are beginning to manage people, to supervise them, to ensure that you get results through them, being able to understand them. The other day you were talking about self-awareness, but you need to also be aware of the people that work for you or with you. What is their character? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? How can they be supported? It is not something that you will have learned from school. It is something you learn, on the job as you go along. When we go to school, we learn, the theory and many other things. But when we begin to work, and especially at the level of supervision, you are expected to do much more than what you learned at school. So issues of the soft skills, which you will never learn at school, this is the time to begin understanding them and learning them. Communication, delegating, all those things become very important. They become to bear on your work if you are going to be successful.
So the soft bit of the job becomes very critical when it comes to team management.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any qualities of a very good team leader, a very good supervisor? What will you summarize if you have to? As a CEO now, I know you hire now people, you hire supervisors, you hire managers, you hire executives. What would you look into someone that you want to hire to be in charge of people, teams?
Well, somebody to be in charge of teams and lead teams has to be a leader. He has to demonstrate those qualities of a leader. Qualities of a leader is somebody who, first of all, has the knowledge. You should know the way, as they say, because you're not going to lead people when you don't know the way. Then you must also be walking that way. You need to be moving towards where you want people to go. And of course, you have to show the people that you manage in your team, show them the way. And of course, you need to articulate what they are supposed to deliver, to achieve. You have to communicate it, and you must be result-oriented.
Mr. Kasi, I would like you to tell me now, at this point, at middle-level management, it's a glass ceiling, and most people end their career at middle-level management, according to research. Only few go to really senior management, and then few of them go to becoming head of institutions. Why do you think a lot of people end their career here, and that pool become also as big as the entry-level pool? So what's got people stuck there, not breaking the glass ceiling to go to the senior management?
Well, of course, the progression up is pyramidal.
Yes.
As you say, the research says many people will be down here, a few will fall by the wayside. It is just a few that are able to go beyond and break the ceiling to the pinnacle, as you said. I believe one of the causes of that is some people may not be as ambitious as they should be. There's need to have ambition. You need to be gunning for the best at the very top. When people, and sometimes they get so satisfied easily, that probably what I've done, I've had a family, I'm driving a car, I can have a beer or two with my friends. It's probably all.
Finished paying mortgage.
Yeah, maybe I've finished paying mortgage. Maybe that's all that I can ever achieve.
Yes.
Not knowing that there is quite a lot, up there that somebody should have achieve, and that's where the ambition comes in. So we need to be ambitious. Of course, not being over-ambitious, but you need to be, adequately Yes,
Wow.
you need to be driven by something, because if you're not driven, you will stop somewhere.
Yeah, true.
And as I mentioned at the very start in the earlier series, you know, you don't want to be there waiting for currents to take you. You need to be taking yourself.
Be intentional.
Be intentional, you
Wow.
know, as you put it. You need to be intentional. You need to be, you know, to have something that you are looking to doing. Not many people are that, and in the process, a lot of them, you know, fall by the wayside, or, you know, sometimes, you know, we talked about consistency. You know, if you are not consistent, somehow along the way, a few things will take your attention and lose your way along the way. So you need to be focused. Being focused, not many, it probably is difficult, but it is important to ensure that there is focus, there is intention, you know, you are going for something.
Yeah. There is what they call organizational politics. Sometimes some people believe they had the intention, they had the potential, they had the drive, but the politics held them back. I know you must have encountered organizational politics over time. How do people, what advice will you give to someone on how to navigate organizational politics for the purpose of their career growth?
No, thank you very much. I think the most important thing is to be aware that there will always be politics. Every time you are in an organization, more than 1-2 people, and there will always be jostling for influence, jostling for resources, and so on, and that brings about politics. So you need to be aware that that will always be there. Otherwise, you'll be taken unawares and you get frustrated. Many people get frustrated by the politics. And once you know it will always be there, then be intentional on how to manage it. Managing it would mean, first of all, stick to your values.
Okay.
Get to understand what the other people's intentions are. You know, it is not easy. Sometimes we tend to lock ourselves in offices. You close yourself off from the rest of, you know, the teams and the environment. And a lot of things go on around you when you are not aware.
Yes.
And before you know, they have hit you. They've come to hit you. So there is that thing of being aware of your environment.
Yes, sir.
Being able to know, you know, the people you work with. Knowing that they may not be CEOs, they may not be managers, but they may be informal leaders who can influence people, you know, informally, without the positions that you think they should use to influence others. And in the process, those could be the leaders down there whom you need to be aware of.
Absolutely.
And be able to, again, manage. And the other thing is to always keep going.
Yep.
In Uganda they call it okulemerako.
Okay.
I don't know whether you understand.
No.
You just keep going,
Yes,
despite all the people that would want to frustrate you, despite all the obstacles along the way, despite all the things that people may be saying. There will be a lot of noise. People will talk so many things. You know, sometimes the intention is to frustrate you and get you off, you know, your goal. But as long as you are focused, you know your goal, get to know those things will be there. See how you can get in there to know what's going on and manage the politics along the way and be able to proceed with your objectives.
Wow. So you should keep going because there will be noise, there will be distraction, hurdles around the way, but you should keep going.
Exactly.
Wow, amazing. And as a career coach, I've come across a lot of middle managers. People who do not know really what it takes to go to the next level, or they feel they belong to the C-suite, but they just don't know how to. It's like a pregnant woman who needs a midwife to help them deliver the baby. Now, sometimes a coach, a mentor become critical. Did you have a coach? Did you have a mentor? I know coaching is now trendy in nowadays. Maybe those days it was not much trendy. Were there people that came in to handhold you, to push you, to help you? And what is the importance of a coach or a mentor?
Well, it is very, very difficult to go through this entire journey without somebody you are looking to for mentorship or somebody who can coach you. So it is critical that as soon as possible you get somebody that, you know, has the experience, knows some of these things so that he can coach you or he can mentor you. It is very important. And it never stops because learning never stops. Every time you move from one step to the other, there are new things which you need to learn. And learning, you will be able to get it from, you know, the coaches, from the mentors. They are the people who will help to unlock, you know, the potential
Yes.
that you probably may be finding difficult, you know, to take advantage of. You need to keep reading, as they say, leaders are readers.
Yes, yes, yes.
You need to keep reading. I think the other day you said something that may transform you could be a book you've read,
Yes.
or somebody you've met.
Yeah,
So it
absolutely.
is important to keep meeting people, exposing yourself, get the adequate exposure, keep reading,
Yes.
learning new things, because the learning never stops.
Absolutely.
And then take advantage of somebody to coach you.
Thank you, sir. What about sacrifices? I know in your career journey you must have made sacrifices. To be where you are today, you must have gone through a lot of, you know, obstacles. Would you share with us some of the critical sacrifices you made in your career in order to grow, you know?
Well, for success to come your way, you must sacrifice. You must sacrifice either time, or sacrifice energy, or sacrifice emotions, or sacrifice money, or any other resources. So the most important thing is to be able to balance, you know, your goals and know what you are focused on. If it means, for example, that you must keep fit, you have to sacrifice the time you would spend drinking, for example.
Watching football or watching movies.
Knowing that you have to go and do exercises, whether you like it or not. That consistency, you know, that we've been talking about. You know, we talk about the law of accumulation.
Yes, yes.
Whatever you add on,
Yeah.
you know, will always build to something bigger.
Absolutely.
So sacrifices will always be, and you must. Nobody can ever succeed without sacrificing. That's why you will find, I remember when we were at university, we could see, you know, lecturers who are doing very well, but missing out on a few other things. But for them, they are focused on becoming and teaching students, teachers. You will find CEOs coming to office very early in the morning, you know, sacrificing sleep.
Yes.
And then leave late, and then be able to, you know, work on so many things, you know, which time other people would be using it to do other things of recreation, but you've sacrificed that time for something bigger that you want to achieve. So there will always be sacrifices, and we need to ensure that we sacrifice for success to come our way.
Wow. And with sacrifice, it comes with a lot of discipline, a lot of accountability, self-accountability. I'd like you to tell us something around discipline and accountability when it comes to growth, career growth. Your own experience or the experience of people that have worked with you.
It is very difficult to grow or to succeed when you don't have discipline. And I like the schools we went through. You know, schools would always make you appreciate what discipline is all about. You would know early in the morning it is PE, physical exercise. You know, when it comes to lunch, to lunch time, everybody goes to take their food. When it is 5, everybody gets out, they go for sports. Then at 7, it is dinner. You know, and it becomes like that. When it comes to Sunday, everybody must go to church because that is the discipline. And it becomes part of your routine.
So the rituals that you do on regular basis.
Exactly. And they turn out to be your culture. You know, and if you don't have a culture, if you don't have a discipline, there's no way you can move forward.
Wow.
So it is important to have the discipline. You know, if it means that you do a lot of hard work, but you must exercise at a certain time, on a certain day, you have to do it in that routine. That's the only way you will attain your fitness, for example.
And consistently.
And be able to do the bigger things that you want to do.
Thank you, sir. It would be not fair for me to not talk about accountability as we are winding this interview. The role of accountability as a consultant in the city, in every company I go, accountability is a big challenge. In fact, someone told me if you want to make enemies in any organization, start holding people accountable, because people don't want to be held accountable. They want to be left alone. Tell me your experience around accountability when it comes to career.
No, as you put it, accountability, you know, people usually want to take the paths of least resistance, if I might call it that way. You know, people don't want to be accountable. And we were in a team, everybody will pass on the ball to the other, pass on the blame to the other, even things that they are responsible for. But if you are able to achieve accountability for each and everybody that is a team member, you will have a very productive team. You'll have very good productivity for each individual when everybody takes accountability for the things they are supposed to deliver on.
As we wind up the show tonight, after this career empowering masterclass with Mr. Fabian Kasi, I would like to recommend tonight 3 books to you. I mentioned the first book last week by Mark McCormack, a former lecturer at Harvard Business School, who wrote the book titled What They Do Not Teach You at Harvard Business School. And years later, Mark McCormack met some of his former students that he thought, after writing his first book, got some inspiration and went on transforming to full potential, or went on growing to the summit of their career. He realized some of them did not still move forward. So he wrote a second book titled What They Do Not Still Teach You at Harvard Business School. You see, the things that Mr. Kasi have told us here, they don't teach you such at Harvard Business School. They don't teach you such at Makerere, not at MOOCs, not at Oxford, not at Yale. You only learn them from someone who has been there. Now, there's a third book in that series of books. What They Do Not Teach You at Harvard School, What They Do Not Still Teach You at Harvard Business School, and the third one is Beyond Harvard. These are 3 books that I recommend for you to get hold of. You can find these books in bookshops around the country, or you can buy them online. Always remember this: only 2 things will change your life: the people you meet and the books you read. To continue receiving insightful and inspirational tips, I'd like you to follow me on Twitter at Pepe Minambo. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Pepsi Max and Centenary Bank, for making this broadcast possible. And we are coming to you all the way from Lake Victoria Serena Golf Resort and Spa. Until next time, good night.